What passport can I buy with $1 million? I think about passports as I think about, let's say, hypercars or private jets. It's a luxury item for somebody that has worked hard all their life and they have a specific budget. You want to buy a private jet for $20 million or you want to buy a passport for $1 million. Obviously, a passport might give you a lot more benefits than a private jet: personal protection, asset protection, traveling around the world easier, overall having an insurance on your life. So if you have $1 million to invest into a citizenship, what are the different options and different combinations of options that you can do? The most straightforward one, if you're a crypto investor, is just giving $1 million to El Salvador, $1 million in USDT, or $1 million in Bitcoin, 10 BTC while we're recording this video at 100,000 US dollars. And obviously you get an El Salvadorian passport in as little as 3 weeks. In some cases, you can renounce your US citizenship on that passport. You can improve your travel freedom. Obviously, you can just invest your crypto so you don't need to cash it out and then pay the country, like in the case of the Caribbean. So it works out pretty well. That's going to eat up all your budget, but you're essentially getting a higher tier passport than the Caribbean, in my opinion. El Salvador is pretty livable. I wouldn't live there myself, but it's pretty livable. Also, they have other treaties with other Latin American countries, or if you get Salvadorian citizenship, you can get faster citizenship in another Latin American country. It's pretty safe. It's headed in the right direction. And obviously, it's extremely crypto friendly. So you're contributing to the future of El Salvador. But that eats up your entire $1 million budget. Now let's go to European Union. So we could do Malta. We need to put a little bit higher than $1 million. So we need to extend that budget to 1.2 million, 1.3 million in some cases, depending how powerful the euro is at that time. Let's say comparing euro and dollars. If the euro is stronger in that specific time when you're investing or giving money to Malta, then you're going to pay more in dollars. So it's going to be around 1 million, 1.1 million euros in total, because you need to donate to Malta. You need to make some donations to some charities. There's obviously a lot of fees. There's lawyer fees, and you also need to get real estate either rented or bought. But you're getting the best citizenship by investment passport out there, apart from, let's say, Austria, citizenship by exception for 5 million euros, or other citizenship by exception programs like Slovakia. You start a business, you hire 100 people, you invest $100 million into a business somewhere else in Europe that could also give you citizenship by exception. But if we're going straight for citizenship by investment, this is really the best passport. Access to live in the European Union, access to go to the United States without a visa, and so on. You're going to get it within 2 years. I would say a year and a half, all the way to 2 years. A lot of due diligence, a lot of background checks, a lot of investigations into your personal life and into your family and into your assets and where your money comes from. And overall, it's going to be a lot of hassle for you, and you have to spend a significant amount of time in Malta as well. So extend your budget if you want that European citizenship. Now, what I would recommend, which is what I've done personally, is getting a collection of passports. So first off, I got my St. Kitts and Nevis passport for 150,000 US dollars. Now it's 250,000, so we're taking 250K or 200K in the case of Dominica, 230K in the case of Antigua, out of our million, and we're getting a Caribbean citizenship. Then you can get a golden visa somewhere like Spain, which they're closing that golden visa, but you could get it in Portugal, for example, in Latvia. Portugal is going to be 500K euros, so let's say 520, 530K USD if the euro is stronger than 550K USD. So we're taking 250, let's say in total 250 for Caribbean. Then we're taking 550 for a Portugal golden visa, or 250 for a Latvian golden visa, 400 something thousand for a Greece golden visa. So depending on which country you choose, let's say 500,000. So 500,000 plus 250,000 for the Caribbean. We have another 250,000, and now we have access to live in a Schengen country, access to travel through the Schengen area, one new passport, so a Caribbean citizenship, and then the rest of that money, we could get different residency permits around the world. So I can open a company in Dubai and have a residency permit in Dubai. I can get the Thai Elite visa, invest some money into that. I can get residency in Paraguay. With 250,000, you can get residency in a lot of places, more than 10 places, I would say, around the world. Have the collection of different residencies, have a new citizenship, and also have a European golden visa. So you could structure it that way as well. You could also take your million and get citizenship by exception somewhere, and you don't even need to spend that million. For example, let's say you open up a business in non-EU Eastern Europe, some place like Serbia, or in some cases North Macedonia, these places, Bosnia, for example. You can open up a business, invest into that business, pay some money out in salaries to some employees in one of your businesses, and you'll be spending a couple $100,000 into this venture. It's going to take you more effort than it's just going to be getting citizenship by investment straight up, but you don't need to spend your whole million. Like in the case of El Salvador, you can spend, let's say 200, 300,000, maybe 400,000 in some cases in order to get some citizenship by exception. It's not really as straightforward, as I said, so it can take a longer time, and there's not really a specific time that I can tell you, yes, you're going to get this citizenship, because it really depends on your profile, what kind of business you start, if you buy real estate, what kind of value you bring to the country, and so on. But you don't need to spend your whole million in order to get another pretty solid passport. Other combinations that I've seen, for example, I have a German client who really doesn't trust Germany. He really doesn't trust the direction that the government is going. So he got a Dominican passport for 200,000 US dollars. He got a Turkish passport for 400,000 US dollars. And then he got a Mauritius permanent residency for 375,000 US dollars. And that is literally $1 million. 200,000, 400,000, and around 400 more thousand. So with $1 million, he got 2 new citizenships. He really likes Turkey as well, spends a lot of time in Turkey. So for him, it worked out pretty well, as well as got PR in the farthest country that you can possibly get PR in, which is Mauritius. Great plan for World War III. Overall, he loves flying to Mauritius. So he goes to Turkey, to Istanbul, and then he flies from Istanbul to Mauritius. So it works out pretty well for him specifically. I've also seen other combinations of 2 countries that not necessarily lead to citizenship right away, but in the future, and for 2 very specific purposes. So I've seen, for example, Canadian citizens that get permanent residency in Mexico by investing in Mexico, and then also get a golden visa in the UAE to have a UAE residency permit where they don't need to go to the UAE every 6 months, and then they can have their banking in the UAE. So for example, a client from Toronto will get permanent residency in Mexico, will live in Mexico in order to get Mexican citizenship to protect himself from Canada. So he will invest in Mexico to get permanent residency, and then he will also invest in Dubai to use the banking system in Dubai and have all of his finances in Dubai and not in Mexico, because having a lot of money in the bank in Mexico could be very problematic, and you don't really want to use the financial system in Mexico, and the taxes in Mexico are a bit complex. So what he's doing is using 2 jurisdictions that don't lead to citizenship right away. He's using one of them for taxes, for having his money there, for having his finances there, for having a property and then renting it out on Airbnb, and the other for a potential second passport in the near future. What I would do if somebody threw $1 million at me and told me, get a passport, and just threw $1 million at my face and said, you can't spend it on anything except getting a second citizenship, because I have so many options already. Or what I would do if I didn't have any options at all, I would probably get some sort of Caribbean citizenship, like a St. Kitts or like a Dominica. For example, you could invest 200,000 into real estate in Dominica, and then you get that money back. So I wouldn't be losing that 200,000, or 300,000 into bonds in St. Lucia. I wouldn't be losing that 300,000. And then the rest of the money, I would go to some country, start a business, hire people, and then get citizenship by exception in the place that I want citizenship in. And that's the beauty about citizenship by exception, or honorary citizenship. Yes, in a lot of cases you can get rejected. In a lot of cases the process doesn't go through, but you can kind of pick the country where you want to be a citizen in. And you can provide value and then get a citizenship in exchange for your value. It takes a lot more effort, a lot more time, but it's worth it, in my opinion. If you want to get citizenship by investment, you definitely want to check out this video right here on all the countries around the world, all the requirements, all the prices, absolutely everything you need to know about citizenship by investment. Check out all your options right here.